Alright, this is the last chapter of the 100 Dresses. Chapter The Letter to Room 13. On Saturday, Maddie spent the afternoon with Peggy. They were writing a letter to Wanda Petronsky. It was just a friendly letter telling them about the contest and telling Wanda she had won. They told her how pretty her drawings were and that now they were studying about Winfield Scott in school, and they asked her if she liked where she was living now and if she liked her new teacher. They had meant to say that they were sorry, but it ended up with just their writing a friendly letter, the kind they would have written to any good friend, and they signed it with lots of X's for love. They mailed the letter to Boggin's Heights, writing "Please forward" on the envelope. The teacher had not known where Wanda had moved, so their only hope was that the post office knew. The minute they dropped the letter in the mailbox, they both felt happier and more carefree. Days passed and there was no answer, but the letter did not come back, so maybe Wanda had received it. Perhaps she was so hurt and angry that she was not going to answer. You could not blame her. Aunt and Maddie remembered the way she hitched her left shoulder up as she walked off to school alone, and how the girls always said, "Why does her dress always hang funny like that? And why does she wear those queer high-lace shoes?" They knew she didn't have a mother, but they hadn't thought about it. They hadn't thought how she had to do her own washing and ironing. She only had one dress, and she must have had to wash it and iron it overnight. Maybe sometimes it wasn't dry when it was time to put it on in the morning, but it was always clean. Several weeks went by, and still Wanda did not answer. Peggy had begun to forget the whole business, and Maddie put herself to sleep at night, making speeches about Wanda, defending her from great crowds of girls who were trying to tease her with "How many dresses you've got." Before Wanda could press her lips together in a tight line the way she did before answering, Maddie would cry out, "Stop! This girl is just a girl like you are!" And then everybody would feel ashamed the way she used to feel. Sometimes she rescued Wanda from a sinking ship or the hoofs of a runaway horse. "Oh, that's all right," she'd say when Wanda thanked her with dull, pained eyes. Now it was Christmas time, and there was snow on the ground. Christmas bells and a small tree decorated the classroom. And on one narrow blackboard, Jack Beggles had drawn a jolly fat Santa Claus in a red and white chalk. On the last day of school before the holidays, the children in Peggy and Maddie's class had a Christmas party. The teacher's desk was rolled back, and the piano was rolled in. First the children had acted the story of Tiny Tim. Then they sung songs, and Cecile had done some dances in different costumes. The dance called "The Passing of Autumn," in which she whirled and spun like a red and gold autumn leaf, was the favorite. After the party, the teacher said she had a surprise, and she showed the class a letter she had received the morning. "Guess who this is from?" she said. "You remember Wanda Petronsky, the bright little artist who won the drawing contest? Well, she has written me, and I'm glad to know where she lives, because now I can send her a medal, and I hope it gets there for Christmas. I want to read her letter to you." The class sat up with sudden interest and listened intently to Miss Mason as she read the letter. "Dear Miss Mason, how are you in room 13? Please tell the girls they can keep those 100 dresses, because in my new house I have 100 dresses, new ones, all lined up in my closet. I'd like that girl Peggy to have the drawing of the green dress with a red trimming, and her friend Maddie to have the blue one. For Christmas I miss that school, and my new teacher does not equalize with you. Merry Christmas to you and everybody. Yours truly, Wanda Petronsky." The teacher passed the letter around the room for everybody to see. It was pretty, decorated with a picture of a Christmas tree and lighted up in the night park surrounded by high buildings. On their way home from school, Maddie and Peggy held their drawings very carefully. They had stayed late to help straighten up after the play, and it was getting dark. Their houses looked warm and inviting, with wreaths and holly and lighted trees in the windows. Outside the grocery store, hundreds of Christmas trees were stacked, and in the window candy peppermint canes and cornucopias of shiny, bright, transparent paper were strung. The air smelled like Christmas, and bright lights everywhere reflected different colors on the snow. "The colors are like the colors in Wanda's 100 dresses," said Maggie. "Yes," said Peggy, holding her drawing out to look at it under a street lamp. "And boy, this shows she really liked us. It shows she got our letter, and this is her way of saying that everything's all right." And that's that, she said with finality. Peggy felt happy and relieved. It was Christmas and everything was fine. I hope so, said Maggie sadly. She felt sad because she knew she would never see the little tight-lipped Polish girl again, and she couldn't ever really make things right between them. She went home and she pinned her drawing over a torn place in the pink flowered wallpaper in the bedroom. The shabby room came alive from the brilliancy of the colors. She had stood by and said nothing, but Wanda had been nice to her anyway. Tears had blurred her eyes, and she gazed for a long time at the picture. Then, hastily, she rubbed her eyes and studied it intently. The colors in the dress were so vivid, but she had scarcely noticed the face and the head of the drawing. But it looked like her, Mattie. It really did. The same short blonde hair, blue eyes, and wide straight mouth. Why, it really did look like her own self. Wanda had really drawn this for her. Wanda had drawn her. In excitement, she ran over to Peggy's. "Peg," she said, "let me see your picture." "What's the matter?" asked Peggy, as they clattered up the stairs to her room, where Wanda's drawing was lying face down on the bed. Mattie lifted it up. "Look! She drew you! That's you!" she exclaimed, and the head and the face of the picture did look like the auburn-haired Peggy. "What did I say?" said Peggy. "She must have really liked us anyway." "Yes, she must have," agreed Mattie, and she blinked away the tears that came every time she thought of Wanda standing alone in that sunny spot in the schoolyard close to the wall, looking stolidly over at the group of laughing girls after she had walked off, after she had said, "Sure, 100 of 'em, all lined up." The end.